Oh, there we're going.
Hey everybody, I'm Megan McCarty-Carino. Welcome back to Make Me Smart, where we make today make sense. Get that out.
It's
Yeah,
hard
never
to get
mind.
out words on a Friday, especially
I was
after a
gonna
week
tell her
like
that.
this. But it is Friday, and I'm
That's
Kimberly
true.
Adams, and I want to thank everybody for making it to Friday with us and joining us for Economics on Tap, which is our Friday happy hour. Whether you're on the YouTube live stream or listening on the podcast later on, thank you. You made it through the end of the standard work week. I know lots of folks work
Right.
weekends, but here we are, and we are glad you are here with us.
And, we're going to do the standard. We'll do some news. We'll play a game. But first, of course, we have to do drinks. So, Kimberly.
We have to do drinks. I ended up rushing back to the office, even though I was working from home today, to shoot a video actually about the funding cuts to public radio and what that means for us. And so came back to the office. So that's why I'm doing the show from here. But I did, finally get around to restocking my office bar. And so I had some sake in there. And so I
Oh,
put it in my
nice.
little mug and I'm having some warm sake because
Warm
I'm randomly
sake.
warm sake because I'm a little bit cold right now. And so it's very nice and cozy on my fingers.
All right.
What do you
Um,
have?
so I have got it's one of those
That's
non-alcoholic drinks. It's
pretty.
called Gia, and
I've
it's
had
kind of
those
like an
before.
yeah, it's a good one. I think it was like one of the Wirecutter picks. But it comes in a little soda can like this, and it's like an aperitivo. This one has ginger in it. I'm trying it
hmm
right now for the first time.
I appreciate that you gave it a garnish. I like that.
Oh
I
yeah,
love
no, I mean I can't.
a
You got to
fancy.
come correct to Kimberly and make me smart. So yeah.
As she sits here with her mug of sake. Oh, how far I've
Uh,
fallen.
no, you make anything classy. That's how it
Thank
goes.
you. Nice save. Nice save. All right, let's see what folks in the chat has. Becky has a mint limeade, which sounds very refreshing.
Mm.
Um, Chris says that your orange LaCroix is boring, but I don't think so. Zach Ruffin is having a black coffee. Oh, QNetX is also having sake, Nagori sake, but cold. So another sake drinker in the chat today. Miles drinking a Budweiser. Let's see. I don't know what you mean by pizza on tap, Matt, but okay.
Hmm.
Oh, Ava Young has iced jasmine tea with strawberry syrup.
Oh my
That
gosh.
sounds
That sounds
delicious.
beautiful. Yeah.
Lee Pang with homemade ginger ale with a splash of vodka. I feel like everyone's left me behind on on the cocktails. And then Lewis Smith has a Jack Daniel's watermelon punch with a Saltese pickle salt
Whoa.
strip. Wow,
That's
y'all.
elaborate.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all of that, this is a very good selection of cocktails and mocktails today. I'm very proud of everyone. All right, Megan, what did you bring for news?
Okay, so I brought this story that the Wall Street Journal has today that the White House is readying several executive orders about AI for sometime soon to be unveiled. One of them is to kind of promote the export of AI chips to the rest of the world, and another one is to fast track permitting for AI data centers. But the one that really caught my eye that is pretty interesting is putting a requirement on AI companies that want to get federal contracts that their models have to be politically neutral and unbiased. So, this is targeting what is being deemed woke AI. Obviously, this is kind of in line with the Trump administration's broader effort to dismantle DEI. But I think it kind of raises some really interesting questions about technology, and it could actually have some big effects on technology. So people on the right have long been complaining about AI models being too woke, and with some good reasons. There have been some very famous examples. The Google Gemini image generator that was kind of regularly generating kind of historically inaccurate images, people of color as Nazis, Black George Washington, and that kind of thing. Um, Chatbots at various points have refused to answer questions about Trump. There was a case where chatbot was asked to write a poem about Biden and Trump, wrote the poem about Biden, would not write the poem about Trump. Um, and I have no idea if the people who designed these tools intended for stuff like this to happen. I think it's pretty unlikely. But there are some like good reasons under the hood why these mishaps may happen. I think it's good to take a look at them because in many cases they are problematic. But I think it's going to be hard to fix in a way that is desirable because it really all comes down to content moderation. And if you want to see what happens when you remove some of that content moderation, you can look at the outburst from Grok on X a couple of weeks ago. That was kind of the result of Elon Musk and some folks at XAI telling Grok, we don't like the way you've been
I'm sorry,
answering
I'm
questions.
just laughing at all these words. Some people at XAI telling Grok. I mean, who thought we were going to be talking like this a few years ago?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
I'm sorry.
Grok,
Go ahead.
aka Mecha Hitler, if you want to
Oh,
go that
God.
way, because that's what Grok started saying after they made some kind of system prompt adjustments, telling Grok not to shy away from politically incorrect material, and it really went off the rails just so quickly. I mean, just really horrific, inappropriate, offensive, vile content spewing from Grok. And I think that's where, when you're trying to moderate a generative tool, it's
Hmm.
really hard to sort of see what the kind of results are going to be, because sometimes things compound in the system, and so these things are trained on corpuses of material. A lot of it is from the internet, a lot of it is full of you know unfactual information, a lot of
Well, this is
bile
what I
on
was
the
wondering,
internet.
Megan. Is it a content moderation issue or is it a training data set issue?
Well,
Right?
it's all of the above, because it's
Hmm.
these things go through, it's all the data that goes into them. Then there's the like reinforcement process where humans go in and say this is offensive, whatever, don't do this, or in the case of Grok, like please do it more like this. There's all these layers of adjustments that you can make. Um, and it's really hard to gauge the results. So say like I am assuming a lot of AI companies are going to want to compete for these kinds of government contracts, which are probably quite big and important. Are a lot of AI companies going to dial back their content moderation in a way that could make these tools a lot more inflammatory, a lot more risky for different people to use? Like, are we just going to be seeing more of what happened with Grok um, in a couple weeks ago?
Well, I'm also thinking about the practical implications of this. Like, let's run out this exercise.
Yeah.
Let's just say you want to get a government contract. The government says you can't have woke AI. AI. Your
Right.
AI needs to be stripped of DEI stuff. It needs to be stripped of, kind of the sensitive language around gender and sexuality and race and things like that. And your AI is going to be deployed in a healthcare setting,
Right.
or it's going to be deployed in a education setting where sometimes those measurements and those labels and those terms matter for
Yeah.
literally the care that someone receives, the access,
Absolutely.
that the benefits that they may have access to. And so can these AIs be functional
Hmm.
in these variety of formats if they do not include this language, or include if they are anti-woke, whatever that means, and it doesn't really mean anything. Anyhow, this will be interesting to roll out on deployment. Right. So mine is a
Yeah.
quick one, just kind of another tick mark on the government pulling in more and more data on Americans and everybody who's here in the country for the purposes of immigration enforcement. The Associated Press has a story about the fact that the Trump administration is officially handing over Medicaid recipients' personal data, including their addresses, to ICE. Now, as you pointed out the other day, undocumented immigrants do not get access to Medicaid, and there are a lot of other federal benefits that you cannot have access to if you are not a U.S. citizen. However, there are a lot of children, especially low-income children, whose parents may be undocumented that might have access to Medicaid, or at least they used to. We'll see if they continue to. And also, Medicaid funds can be used for emergency and life-saving care. So, for
Mm.
example, if you show up to an emergency room and you are in crisis, they're still going to help you, and they may need to use Medicaid funds to do that, and that could affect you if you are an undocumented person. So I'm just going to read a little bit of the story here. Again, immigrants who are not living in the U.S. legally, as well as some lawfully present immigrants, are not allowed to enroll in the Medicaid program. Medicaid is jointly funded between states and the federal government, but federal law requires all states to offer emergency Medicaid, which is the temporary coverage that pays only for life-saving services in emergency rooms to anyone, including non-U.S. citizens. And emergency Medicaid is often used by immigrants, including those who are lawfully present and those who are not. One of the things that came up quite a bit when I was doing my reporting on the Medicaid cuts in the OBB, I have so many B's, is that with so many people, likely anywhere from 10 to 16 million people are going to get knocked off of Medicaid over the next decade as a result of the changes in this legislation, it means that more people are going to be showing up in emergency rooms for care, especially
Mm.
because they're not going to get the same kind of preventive care that they might have if they stayed insured, and also if they are afraid to sign up for a variety of reasons. This will put more strain on emergency room care, which Medicaid is going to end up having to pay for anyway. So there
Yeah, you referenced the interview that I did for Marketplace Tech the other day,
it is.
and that was about sort of ICE using a private insurance database for health insurance, for car insurance, any kind of insurance claim that has, gotten digested into the system. And then we just did an episode with the ProPublica reporter. They just put out this piece about the IRS potentially sharing data. It hasn't happened yet through the system that's been set up, but it's just clear that they're reaching for every single lever to get data to kind of get these targets that they're after.
And this is something I think that probably gets a lot of support amongst
Yeah.
the people who voted for Trump, and people who support stronger immigration enforcement, because one of the classic narratives I heard during the presidential campaign from both Democrats and Republicans, to be frank, was
Mhm.
that they didn't like the idea of undocumented immigrants getting social services that they were paying for. And yeah, it's definitely a thing that's got quite a bit of support. Anyway, that is it for the news. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to play our game Half Full, Half Empty.
All right, it is game time. So Drew Jostad is here to host a round of Half Full, Half Empty. Take it away, Drew.
All right, first up this week, we have Are you half full or half empty on using robots to address healthcare labor shortages?
I'm going to let you start this one off, Megan.
Well, I know what Kai would say. He was quite terrified of that
He
robot
was so
dog.
scared. Let's set it up, though.
Right. So, in the reporting that Kai was doing this week, there's a robot dog that they're using in London at a startup to deliver, kind of, I don't know, like tests and use in a hospital setting, in a healthcare setting to kind of move stuff around that needs to be around so that the humans can focus on what they focus on in healthcare. Which seems like
Yeah, I
that
mean, this
seems
is,
positive, right?
eh, you know, I think one of the things that you want most in when you're in a hospital setting is
Mm,
comfort
yeah,
and care, and like to feel like a human.
yeah.
And already you're being so rushed and it's so methodical, and you can feel like nobody's listening to you sometimes.
Mhm.
And I can just imagine like having my meds delivered by robot dog is not going to make me feel better if I'm sick in
Maybe
the
a real
hospital.
dog. That might make me
A
feel
real
better.
dog
Yeah.
100% would do it.
Yeah.
Puppies,
I'm half
yes. Robot
full
dogs,
on
half
real dogs
empty.
and puppies. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, half empty. What's next, Drew?
Half full or half empty on algo speak?
So,
So, yeah, this was an interview that we did this week with an author of this book, Algo Speak, who is a linguist online who goes by the etymology nerd. And we talked about all of the ways that the algorithms are shaping our speech, and especially young people's speech, in ways that are sometimes odd, off-putting, annoying, you might say. You know, all of the I think the example that we talked about was sticking out your yacht for the Rizzler, which is like a song that was all over TikTok based on these nonsense words that the kids are saying.
the skibbity
um
toilet.
yeah, skibbity toilet, exactly, that kind of stuff. But also, one of the interesting things that I'm not sure got into the interview was the proliferation of sort of terms and slang from incel communities that has become, you know, all of the like I'm
A high value
whatever
man.
pilled, or no, but just even in a very anodyne manner now, which I
Oh,
honestly did
like
not know
red
where
pilled
these.
and blue pilled and stuff.
Yeah, or like I'm sunscreen pilled, or like, like that kind of stuff. I've been sunscreen pilled for a long time.
I don't know
Uh,
what that means. Okay, algo speak. Language changes. It changes in lots of different ways.
yeah.
Sure, half full. Let's
Okay.
change with the world that changes around us. What about you?
E- Yeah, I mean, there is a sense. I think it creates kind of a sense of togetherness that I feel like the whole population kind of like speaks more similar language of slang these days because of the internet. It has a kind of unifying
Mm-hmm.
quality, but it also distorts things and
It also has people picking up language that they hear one community using as casual
exactly.
slang and they think
Yeah,
they can, and it's like, nah, don't say
absolutely. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a begrudging half full because I don't want to be one of
Okay.
those like language policers. They're not cool.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
Yeah. Okay, half full.
All right. What's next, Drew?
Next up, online gaming platform Roblox is introducing a new system to scan users' video selfies in order to verify their ages. Are you half full or half empty?
This one's hard
I know
because,
all
like,
this age verification stuff is hard.
the age verification stuff is hard because, on the one hand, you don't want children
Yeah.
accessing content online that is
Right.
harmful to them, right? And
Yeah.
kids are better at technology than the adults are, almost always.
Yeah.
And so I can understand the intent of making sure that I remember I briefly, so I got one of those like Oculus headsets a while back
Oh.
because my mother wanted one and I needed to get one so that I could help her figure out how to use it. And I briefly went into the metaverse and that like what was it, Horizons, I think it was called, wherever it was where you could like actually see other people in that
Hmm.
platform. And a child came up and started talking to me. And I was like, I am a stranger. Why are you talking to me? And I got out of there so quickly, but I was just like, what if I were a dangerous person? Like,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
I feel like there should be something. And I know that this is like a big issue in like gaming culture and everything like that. That was a long-winded way of me saying that I'm still going to be half empty on scanning children
Hmm.
by corporations that are trying to make money off of those children, uh, and hope that, parents can do the intervention, even though I know it's really hard. I just can't get on board with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that something like facial capture is problematic, especially given our data privacy situation where there are a
Mm-hmm.
patchwork of data privacy laws state by state. We don't have any kind of federal data privacy law. Your facial biometric data is not like not even like your social security number. I mean, you cannot change it. You cannot
Yeah.
do if that gets kind of hacked, and that's pretty bad. So even though I too am very concerned about kids' safety online, I think until we have better data privacy protections in place,
Or any
that
data
is,
privacy protections.
yes, exactly, any data privacy protections in place, I'm going to be half empty on that too.
All right. Well, is this the last
Last
one? Is
one
this
is
the
the
poll,
poll.
Drew? All right,
You read
folks in
my
the
mind.
YouTube chat, get ready. Let's do it.
Are you half full or half empty on TSA checkpoints at airports adding dedicated lanes for members of the military and for families flying with young children?
So I just saw this story when I was looking around for a news item this afternoon. And so Kristi Noem, who's the head of DHS, is talking about adding these additional lanes, also letting people keep their shoes on, potentially changing the idea with liquids. There's the dedicated lanes for families. I think I also saw the idea that there would be a dedicated, or at least people who are Gold Star families might get like a discount or free access to pre-check or something like that to speed people through the lines. I'm definitely on board for families and veterans, getting, I mean, veterans, I think, not veterans, but active duty military already get to board planes a bit early, which I think is good. And I think families should have their own dedicated lane, because maybe it would take some pressure off the people traveling with kids to not have to feel so rushed and get a little bit more understanding from the people around them when they're like juggling all their kids. And also the people who are traveling by themselves can move a little bit faster and not try to like elbow their way in front of a family so they don't get stuck behind them at the scanner. Not that I know anybody who's ever done that. I haven't. I wouldn't, but I've seen it happen.
So what's the downside?
I think it's the same thing that people will say for, airport lounges being overcrowded. They want the perk for them, but not for
Right.
other people,
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
you could make the argument that if you are paying a premium to move more quickly through something, that you should be able to move more quickly through it. And the more people who get access to
Right.
that premium thing,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
less valuable it is. And especially if they're talking about giving that access that you are paying for free to someone else,
Yeah.
it can generate some hard feelings, but,
Hmm.
people can live. All right, let's close the polls and let's see what people think. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, are you half full or half empty, Megan?
I mean, without having thought about it too much, just on the face of it, I'm like, half full. So I'll stick with that.
So are about 70% of people. Only about 29% are half empty. I'm going to say half full, but ideally, everybody's going to get through the system much more quickly. And as people are saying on here, everyone not having to take their shoes off should speed things up for everybody regardless.
So,
yes.
Everyone gets a win.
I think that's it.
All right.
Yes, we have a sting for that.
I thought so. I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
Well, that is a wrap on this week. So we'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, you know how to reach us. Email us at makemesmart@marketplace.org or leave us a voicemail at 508-UB-SMART.
This episode of Make Me Smart is produced by Minju Park with help from Courtney Bergseeker. Today's episode was engineered by Jake Cherry.
The team behind the YouTube live stream is Emily McCune and Antoinette Brock. Daisy Palacios is our supervising senior producer. Nancy Fargali is executive producer of Marketplace shows. And Joanne Griffith is our chief content officer.
And y'all, before we let you go for reals, I did want to flag the fact that it's been in the news about the rescission cuts that we've been talking about for public media. And it's hard. Funding for public media was just federal funding for public media was just eliminated. And this is going to have some really devastating effects on the public media system. We're kind of already feeling it here at Marketplace. It's going to have an even bigger impact on rural and local stations in communities. And so it's really kind of it is a crucial moment for our public media ecosystem. So if you are able, please do take the moment to donate to your public radio station. And if you can, if you've got a little bit of extra, you can also donate directly to Marketplace. We are at marketplace.org/GiveSmart. Any contribution, no matter the size, will make a big difference. We've been kind of all hoping for a different outcome than this, but I'm not going to lie, that's a big funding cut for a system that doesn't run on all that much money in the larger scheme of things, and it's going to be felt really hard. So anything you can do to help us out would be greatly appreciated. If you appreciate and value public radio and what we do, we would really appreciate your support right now. All right, gonna let you all go. Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend.